So we're going to go over a few things today. We're going to talk about Charlie Kirk's legacy, and we're going to remember him the way I think he deserves to be remembered. We're going to talk about some of the response and reactions and why all of this happened. And we're going to talk a little bit about what comes next, because what comes next is going to be very different than what has happened before. But the first thing I want to do, and as a husband and father, forgive me because I'm gonna try to get through it as best I can. To Erica Kirk, there was a debt that I think a lot of us felt like we owed to Charlie because of the way he lived his life and because of how hard he fought for the things that he believed in. And I just want you to know that debt transfers to you. Anything your family requires, I think there's a lot of us that would be there very quickly, should you need it. To Charlie's children, as a father, I want you to know that one of the things that impressed me most about your dad was when he was asked very recently what he wanted to be remembered for. It was the courage of his faith. Nothing out of all the accolades or earthly titles that your father received and deserved. None of them gave him as much joy as being a husband to your mother and a father to you guys. It was just evident. So I'll always remember him as a man that had the courage of his faith. What I would want you to know about your dad, and I know you're going to have a lot of people that will be more than happy to tell you about him, was that for me, he represented how well a life can be lived when you are more concerned about what God says to you when you arrive than what man says about you when you're gone. And I have no doubt that he heard, "Well done, good and faithful servant," which for all of us is the greatest compliment, the greatest accolade anyone could ever receive. It is one of the incredible things about the Christian faith where we recognize our sin and our dependency upon God. We recognize that he gives us the ability to be a part of something beautiful. And that when we embrace that, we have the opportunity to hear those words when we see them. And I have no doubt that you will get to see your dad again under much happier circumstances. In the meantime, the rest of us have a lot of work to do and a lot to live up to. But I want you to know that your father was very loved, very respected, and that love and that respect and that care and that concern also transfers to you and your mother. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is I just want to remember all the reasons why we love this guy, because he was really good at what he did. And a lot of people could chalk it up to just being naturally good, and I believe he had a great deal of God-given talent, but he also had a great deal of courage, of intellect. He just worked incredibly hard, and he was constantly willing to go into situations and circumstances that, well, can be very stressful and ultimately prove very dangerous. And I hope that we'll remember that that obligation still exists. And we still need people to do what Charlie was doing. So let's take a minute, Christian, if you would. I want to thank our friends over at Live Action. They did a great job, and this tribute to Charlie. Let's go ahead and watch this.
What advice do you have for me as I move into adulthood in order to become a more informed and involved citizen?
Well, first of all, thank you for being here, and I have hope thanks to people like you. How old are you again?
13.
13. Here's a couple things I want to encourage you to do. Learn something new every single day, and focus on what it means to be a good person and a person in strong character. Aristotle said that courage is the ultimate virtue. Without it, there are no other virtues. If people aren't courageous, you don't have honesty, you don't have justice, you don't have beauty, you don't have wonder. And so at age 13, I want you to commit yourself to a life of courage. Courage is doing the right thing when you don't know how it's going to work out. Courage is committing yourself to the correct course of action, regardless of the cost associated to it.
Every human being, I believe, is made in the image of the divine, is sacred, is unique, and if we get away from this principle as we have, we not only have moral degradation, we not only have the collapsing society around us, but it's bad for that being itself. That being itself is unique. That being has rights, and who are we to say, just because we're older, that we get to murder it? Thank you.
I think of like all the stressful situations Charlie went into, and there is a lot of stress when you're going into debates or when you're just going into the public sphere. But you just look at his face when his little girl is running up to him up on that studio set, and oh man, let's look at the next one.
So here's a few compilations that the New York Post put together.
Yeah.
We don't have to listen to the entire thing, but these are some of his best moments.
Some of his best debate moments.
It's not about the cells. It's not about. No. I'm speaking. No, 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 I'm speaking.
Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, and I am surrounded by 20 woke college kids. A woman is an adult female with XX chromosomes. You tell me, what is a woman?
I think a woman is somebody who identifies as a woman.
Got it. So that's not a definition. That's like saying a table is something that identifies as a table. Give me an objective definition of how...
No, it's not. A table is an object.
Well, tell
a table can't identify as anything. It doesn't have choice.
You have to give me an objective definition of what a woman is.
If I decided right now that I wanted to identify as a woman, I would be a woman.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question.
I know, but right now I'm a man, right? So if that happened right now, I'd be a woman. So once a person makes the decision to identify as a woman,
got it. No,
they're a woman.
That's a separate issue. What is a woman?
That's the definition.
No, I know, but you have to tell me what.
A person who identifies themselves as a woman.
But you have how do you know that they are that thing?
How do I don't need to know what they are. I can ask them if I want to know.
But there needs to be, you need to tell me what that thing is, though.
Somebody who... Okay, sorry, we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting
anywhere because the guy doesn't understand ontology.
He's in the liberal death loop.
Yeah. It's called circular reasoning. You have to give me a actual definition.
I don't have to... I did give you a definition.
No, you said that a woman is something that thinks they're a woman. That doesn't give me a definition.
Do you feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself? Hold on.
Pause real quick.
You're 30 years old.
I think it's amazing that so many of these college students feel completely prepared to essentially determine how society should operate, how we should live our lives, how we should organize the economy, but they're not prepared to answer a couple of questions or even ask a couple of questions from Charlie Kirk.
Well, the other amazing fact is that these people are all attending college, going to college.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to stop right there because I'm pretty sure he's going to
talk
about it.
We can agree you're 30 years old.
You turn up the volume.
Okay. Right? Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a registered voter.
I vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization.
That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah? Wait, hold on. How is it any different than a professor talking to you?
Then a professor talking to you? Who are you?
Well, important enough for you to come up to a microphone.
You create a company that's like close to being a fascist, and then like.
Okay. Well, how am I?
Sorry.
Let's go through this. How am I a fascist?
No. Dude, like you.
Can you name one thing I believe that's fascist?
You believe that like. You on. Oh, shit. But
I'm such a bad fascist. I let the people who disagree in open mic to talk to me for 2 hours uninterrupted.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen that meme that's like, it's like a cartoon meme, and on one hand it's like a Nuremberg rally, right? And then the clip says, and of course our party's most important principle, free speech.
Yeah, right. Oh man, go ahead.
I'm an awful fascist. I'm more like a free speech liberal of the 1970s, not a fascist.
But I just want to say Turning Point USA is a evil company that was funded by thousands of fracking companies, and that just...
No, it's not thousands, but we do have some frackers that give us money. But
yeah, and then all it is making the rich more rich.
Fascism to fracking.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Okay, again, I'm happy to have a debate. I can see you're getting kind of fired up.
I'm sorry.
So, but why are we evil? Like, we're having a nice discussion.
Because
all of a sudden you're calling me like a fascist.
Because it seems like you just want the rich get even more rich. Like,
we haven't talked about the rich at all. I mean, so you don't even know my positions on this stuff. Under no circumstance ever should a man ever let a woman pay for a date. Or you should split ever. No circumstance.
Even on the third, fourth, fifth.
What if it's the first date and you're just not
paying for anything?
Okay, well, let me.
Period.
Well, okay, so
what kind of world are we living in?
Well, hold on a second. I agree with you. If I'm dating a girl, I would pay for everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. However, I could see for other people that might be in a different financial position, you know, you pay for 10 dates and then she's like, you know what, I want to treat you.
Well,
I think
that's totally different. No, what we're talking about is like, oh, we're gonna alternate. Like, well, once you're serious and she wants to take you out to something for a nice dinner, and you might, by the way, if you have the intent to marry, you're already like kind of blending finances. Like, I get that psychologically, but like if you're like, oh, we'll take turns. Like, oh, well, you know, you pay this time, I pay this time.
What's your advice to a girl who the guy she's currently seeing, he says that?
Oh, do not marry that man.
Pause real quick. This is one of the things that angered people so much about Charlie Kirk on the left, is that it was this desire to kind of overthrow these traditional roles with respect to men and women. And you can see right there, it's not that Charlie had this like, you know, rigid interpretation with respect. Well, no, of course she can take you out to a nice dinner is like, but it was this idea that no, there's roles. There's roles and responsibilities. And instead of like what so many people do, which is throw in 1,000 caveats, he was just like, no, this is a good principle to live by. And again, it's one of the things I just appreciated about Charlie, because I think one of the things that we failed to realize as we were having a lot of these debates and as culture was shifting so rapidly is that we almost felt like in order to keep the conversation civil, we always had to compromise or provide 1,000 caveats to what we believed. And it's not like the other side does that. They have, I mean, say what you want. They believe what they believe and they're willing to defend it. And one of the things I think frustrated them so much about Charlie is he was equally convinced. He just did a much better job advocating for it. Go ahead.
Break offer.
Great.
But they should offer. They should pull out the credit card.
The woman? Of course not.
Just to offer.
No.
It's a nice gesture.
No, by the way, no. This is feminism. Feminism is that you have to be this like self-independent. This is not a nice gesture. It's you trying to be like egalitarian. No. You as women should want to be provided for. In fact, you should have an expectation that you as a woman are so important and so critical and so necessary and beautiful that it shouldn't even be a question.
Do you view democracy as an American value, something that's very important to the fabric of this country?
No. Where is democracy in the U.S. Constitution?
Oh, okay. So are you...
No, hold on. Where is the word democracy?
I don't think the word democracy is in the Constitution.
So where is the word democracy in any of the founding fathers?
A lot of the founding fathers had extremely elitist viewpoints around who should...
Hold on. I just want you said the word democracy, so I want to get back to our roots.
Yes.
Where is democracy mentioned? In the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, or the Declaration?
I think it's good that this country has moved away from things that were explicitly believed by the founding fathers.
in the Federalist Papers, and it's mentioned negatively as a problem. So you ask me, is democracy a fundamental American value? I say no.
Okay.
Because I go back to our roots. And Hamilton, Madison, and Jay...
Oh, I know that Hamilton was anti-democracy.
Hold on,
these people thought that people should be owned as
I want to be
property.
clear. I am pro-representation.
That's actually not true.
It's actually not true. Hamilton was an abolitionist. He was against slavery. But it once again, it just goes to show that they are so confident in what they're saying, and it's not as if they're, quote, uneducated. They're going into tens of thousands of dollars of college loan debt to receive this, and then Charlie sits down there and says, "Okay, well, you said this. Where is it? Oh, well, now you want to go into they were slave owners." Can you just tell me where you got this idea, where you got this notion? And again, it's not that Charlie doesn't believe in democratic processes, but he recognizes that we're a constitutional republic, and that has different implications. And it's just, again, it's fascinating the degree of ignorance coming, and I mean ignorance not so much in the pejorative sense of someone being deliberately ignorant. This person believes they're educated because they've been led to believe it. They're paying a premium to be educated. And a professor is essentially indoctrinating them with a way to think about the world, not a process by which you understand facts and evidence and come to logical conclusions, but a way to think. And if you say these words, then you're in the right crowd and you believe the right things, and therefore you're a good and moral person. And anybody that doesn't say those things is bad and is evil. You saw it with that one student. The turning point is evil. Why? You want the rich to be richer. Okay, wait a second. First of all, he didn't say that. But first of all, explain what evil is in your worldview. What is evil even? They don't need to have a definition, because as the first student said, where it's like, well, the definition is anyone who identifies as a woman is a woman. And they carry that same logic over to, I've identified you as evil, therefore you are. What's the objective definition for it? The fact that I identified you as such.
The accusation is the proof.
The accusation is the proof. I've seen this before, and I talked about it one time where I said, one of the things I recognized over time was that I was trying to debate and they were trying to diagnose. I'm trying to create an argument that I think is well thought out and comprehensive and consistent and reliant upon facts and evidence and a logical thought pattern which can be appreciated and recognized even if someone doesn't agree with it. And I kept getting confronted with diagnosis. Well, you must be a racist. You must be a xenophobe. You must be a sexist. You must be a bigot. You must be a fascist. Like, well, no, I'm not. I don't meet the definition of any of those things. Yes, you do, because I've just diagnosed you as that. I identify you as that. And Charlie could just dismantle it. And you see the way Charlie does it. I feel like I would get more frustrated in this moment. And you just see Charlie as he maintains his composure. And it's not that Charlie never got frustrated or allowed passion to flow through on what he was saying. He did. But it wasn't mean-spirited.
No.
Let's
he
go
was
ahead.
an excellent debater.
Yeah.
Representative government,
okay.
But I'm not pro-democracy. That's a big difference, and that distinction's important. But you asked very specifically about democracy, which is not an American value. It never has been and never should be, because what is democracy? Democracy is majority rule no matter what. That there's no provisions of checks and balances, no inalienable rights, no separation of powers, pure if the majority gets it, the majority wants it as quickly as possible.
I don't advocate pure democracy. I do understand that we live in a representative, like we live in a republic, and I understand these things.
You're a stochastic terrorist.
What is that?
You're targeting a minority group. You're targeting trans people specifically.
What is a woman?
That's a stupid ass question, dude. That's a dumb ass question.
What is a woman, college student?
What is a woman? Oh, you're talking to a college student instead of, like, I don't know, someone who has
media training?
They can't answer what a woman is. It's not a trick question. What is a woman?
Who identifies as a woman?
What is that thing? You can't answer the question with the question. It's like saying, what is the sun? The sun is something that looks like the sun. What is a woman?
It's a social identifies as a woman.
No, you can't answer the question with, define the woman without saying woman. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good. How are you?
What's your name?
Dakota.
Nice to meet you, Dakota. How old are you?
I'm 11.
Amazing. Give it up for Dakota being here today.
So, I'm pro-life. I'm a fiscal conservative. And I know I want to get into politics when I grow up. I don't want to get into massive debt for a political science degree. What concrete steps can I take now in order to achieve the goal of doing my part to make America great again?
Oh, great. You should go to Hillsdale College, America's greatest college, and start studying now. Start taking classes, reading books. You have to be in charge of your own education, and the fact you're thinking like this at 11 is a great sign. God bless you, and the future is very bright. Thank you. Do you want a hat? What's your name?
None of your business, unfortunately, but...
Okay, hello, nice to meet you, none of your business.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So, do you love America?
Yes, I do.
I hate America. Every state in the USA should be an independent country. What do you think of this?
Well, I just first have to ask, since you hate the country, do you plan to leave?
What do you mean by that?
Do you plan to go live in another country?
No, I do not.
Let me tell you something.
Your face is an idiot.
America is the only country where even those who hate it refuse to leave. That's how you know you live in a great country.
Okay.
I love how that person's mask is just like sucking in against their face as they're like rage breathing.
Well, one of the things that Charlie did well, and it's something that again a lot of people in the movement or whatnot should remember, is he would challenge the presupposition. One of the biggest problems that I've seen, especially with fellow members of in politics and whatnot, is they'll get asked a loaded question or a loaded statement will be made, and they feel as if they have to answer the statement in the way it was constructed. And Charlie was always very good at responding sometimes with a question that would open up the person making the statement within their own presuppositions. You hate this country. Do you plan to leave? No. America is the only country that people can hate and never plan to leave. And it begs a further on question. Why is that? If it's truly as bad as you say, why is that? Why would you not take the opportunity to leave? And again, I think that Charlie was, a lot of times we get so focused, and it's not that Charlie didn't process what people were asking. He was actually very, very good at listening, effectively listening. And he didn't just listen with the intent to respond, as Nate always says. He listened with the intent to understand. And because he was so good at listening with the intent to understand, when he did respond, it was highly effective. Because he was very, very good at getting to the core of, again, what is that presupposition which is informing a particular statement? And there can be a natural ability for that, but Charlie also really worked at it. And again, I think the reason why Charlie was so good at it, and this is the part that I think a lot of people misunderstand, the reason why he was so good about it is because he genuinely cared about the person he was debating with. He wanted to understand where they were coming from because he believed in shared humanity. And for all the talk, and we're going to get into what some of the people have said about Charlie a little bit later on, but that was the reason why he was so good at that. He genuinely cared about the person that was coming up and yelling at him and screaming at him. He saw him as made in the image of God, and he didn't see it. It's the scripture that talks about our fight is not against flesh and blood. And Charlie had a lot of animosity toward what he believed were destructive ideologies. But I never once saw Charlie Kirk demonstrate hatred for another human being.
No, he never devolved into name calling or anything like that. They would call him some of the most vile things you can call a person. on the mic to his face, and he would try not to interrupt him. He would try to collect all of the points that they were making and try to piece it together and give them basically he would give them an argument back worthy of somebody that actually put together a decent argument.
Yeah.
When in fact all they did was stand there and call him garbage names. And so he treated every single person like they had made their points, and he was going to address them point by point. Not quite the way that, like, if you had somebody come up to you and say some of the things that have been said to his face, and some of us have had this kind of thing happen before. Your response isn't usually grace like that. He would respond with grace, and he would respond with the respect you would give somebody that actually formulated a decent argument, even though they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, in one of the previous clips that we just played, you heard some of the people being like, "You're a terrorist. You want to target people," which is really ironic, right? But some of the other clips that I wanted to play when we were compiling some compilations of some of his best moments, I think actually illustrate what was driving him. What were his motivations? And listening to this, in fact, actually a mutual of mine on I don't know why it says follow back. I am already following him. Anyway, a mutual of mine on Twitter, good economist, he put out this clip from Charlie's interview recently with Tucker Carlson. And listening to it, I mean, he said exactly what I just said, like, wow, he sounds exactly like me. I listened to this, and it really does get to what was motivating him.
Yeah.
So listen to this.
Political radicalism needs a catalyst. Political radicalism does not come out of peace, prosperity, rising wages, stable families, church attendance, and happy people. Happy people, grateful people do not get behind Vladimir Lenin, and they certainly don't get behind Chavez or Castro.
That's right.
People that own nothing, that feel like their property is diminishing, or they don't have property, or their dollar is diminishing in value, they start to look for alternatives. And so the political project in front of us as conservatives should be, how do we actually de-radicalize the country in the next couple of years? That's my obsession. And that's why I say I try not to think about all this other stuff, because it just, it's so much brain space. My number one obsession is I know what is coming next. Political radical.
Yeah, I think I'm really glad you played that clip.
See, I am following it.
Because I know when you look at something like this, I was talking to something earlier, and I said, like, I know my obligation is to not be overcome by evil, but to overcome evil with good in Romans 12. But when I saw that video, man, I did not feel that. I did not feel that. And the thing is that I understand that one of the things that Charlie did so well is that he would allow the emotion that he felt, the passion that he felt about a particular thing, inform his decision and his approach, but he didn't allow it to direct his actions. And it's one of the things that I appreciated so much about him. I don't think that means you take this lying down. Charlie certainly didn't take it lying down. Charlie certainly didn't accept this idea that we were going to succumb to barbarism. But he also understood that when people are hurting, they're looking for answers. And so Charlie wanted to provide answers that actually made sense. And this is the other thing, too, that was so special about Charlie. And it was Patrick Bet-David that said that Charlie Kirk had the ability to be both Billy Graham and Rush Limbaugh. But I think what's important about that is that Charlie understood, and we take some heat for this on our channel, and I don't particularly care. Charlie understood that the solution to all of this is not vote harder. Charlie believed that politics was very important, but Charlie also understood that it was a reflection of other things. And that's why Charlie advocated so much for Christianity. It's why he advocated so much for families, for the church. because he recognized that all of those components are the foundation upon which everything else is built. And again, that was a clip that just illustrated his both the comprehensive nature of his understanding and his ability to articulate it in a concise way where people could, just as that commenter said, man, this sounds like what I've been thinking or what I've been trying to articulate. The number of people that would comment on something Charlie Kirk said with, you said what I was thinking, but I couldn't say it the same way. And there's a lot of power in that when you give voice to what people are thinking and what they are feeling, but you do it in a way that is not just, but also passionate and responsible the way Charlie did. You change people's minds. You give them something positive to fight for, not just something evil to destroy. And one of the biggest questions that we're going to have going forward, one of the biggest things that we're going to have to answer going forward is I think all of us are pretty clear on the evil that we need to destroy. There's a lot more debate on what is the good that we actually preserve or fight for or build from that. And we have got to get that question right, because if that question is not effectively answered before people act, it goes in a very, very dark place.
I want to build off of what you just said. Right before Charlie went out to Utah just a few days ago, he sat down and gave an interview where he talked about, the broader picture.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about Charlie was he understood that to be right-wing was not to just make GDP go up or to conserve the status quo. What defines something as right-wing, and I'm going to use that word because he's used it before, and the left treats that like a loaded term. To go back into the caveats are over.
Yeah.
What makes something right-wing is not just good economics. That matters, right? It's not just conserving the status quo, because the status quo sometimes needs to actually be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And he articulated it in this quote right here. I don't have the clip, but we'll read it. He said, "You have to try to point them towards ultimate purposes and towards getting back to the church, getting back to faith, getting married, having children. I'm trying to paint a picture of virtue of lifting people up, not just staying angry."
That's so critical. That's so critical.
There's a couple more things. There's two more things that we want to go through. One that we have here, and another one is actually a bit of a surprise.
Okay.
That I'll show you guys. But this was recent. Tina, I think, actually sent it to me. This was how he wanted to be remembered. And he gave this just a few weeks ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to play this.
How do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
How do you want
to? Jeez.
How about that?
Yeah.
There's one final thing I want to show you guys.
Can I point something out is I keep seeing, and I know we're going to get into some of what the left is doing right now, but I keep seeing this term thrown around sort of in a mocking sense of, he's not a martyr and the right's going to hold him up as a martyr now. But that's exactly what he is.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely fits the definition of a martyr. They could put his picture next to the word in the dictionary. He died for his faith. He died for standing up for truth. He died because of what he believed. He's a martyr.
He is both a political and a Christian martyr.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that I wanted to show you guys, and I didn't include this originally when we were building all our links to go through on purpose.
Yeah.
You, Nick, and Tina, you both remember where I was on election night, and where our good friend Cliff Maloney was as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cliff was working with Charlie for all of last year to deliver the White House to Trump. Charlie was focused on Arizona and the western states, and Cliff was focused on Pennsylvania. And they were both doing the exact same thing. They were both doing early vote, right? They were both doing chasing mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
Because that's what we didn't get right 4 years ago, and we got it right in November. And I remember this exact moment because I was on the other line.
Yeah.
I was in the room with Cliff in our headquarters in Pennsylvania. And as you play this video, you're going to hear Cliff's voice because he's on the other line live with Charlie when we declared that Trump had won the White House. And the funny thing is that I remember sitting across the table from Cliff and being like, Trump's won this. And it was like 10 o'clock. And he was like telling Charlie in between, live, because they were doing a multi-hour long live stream. In between clips of it being live, he was telling Charlie this. And Charlie was like, I trust your data guy, but I need to make sure this is And then the news finally came in and he's like, man, your data guy was really good. And so just listen to this. This was, I remember watching this live. I was on the other end of the line and it was incredible.
Fox News decides Donald Trump is president of the United States. We've got our republic back, folks.
Let's go.
There it is.
Everybody should remember this moment. Look, I'm gonna echo Charlie from earlier. Remember where you were when this happened. Remember where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, just the establishment, you said it's time to actually participate. And look what you guys have done.
And if anyone deserves to get tears in his eyes, it's Charlie. I think we all agree.
I think Erica was chopping some onions or something in the break room.
No one has worked harder than Charlie for this.
We gotta hear some words here from you, Charlie. You put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God.
It's all God. It's all God. God alone. God alone.
That's all I can say.
Decision desk has it. Pennsylvania.
It's done.
It's beginning.
Fox News.
Yeah, he and he had worked incredibly hard. I mean, we sometimes forget the fact that he was 31.
Yeah, he was my age.
Yeah, he was 31.
We were in the same graduating year of. I mean, not in the same school and in the same state, but I'm his age. That's incredible that he. I mean,
it's really interesting to me. I know a lot of the people that were part of the young Republicans of your generation, right? And some of them really went sort of the establishment, non-social route. And I've actually seen some people on social media highlighting the fact that, when Turning Point started, we didn't really talk too much about social issues, and we kind of stuck to socialism sucks. And it was all pretty much fiscal issues and things like that. But something transformed in Charlie. And he could not keep it just about the social or just about the fiscal issues because his faith played such a major role in his worldview, and his organization had to follow suit because when you're talking about things that matter, we could talk about fiscal issues, that's fine, but it's the social issues. Those are the things that matter because those are the things that have eternal significance. And he knew that. And so his methods or not necessarily methods, but his brand shifted a bit. And it shifted in a way it needed to shift. And I think that some of these folks that think we need to leave these social issues behind are cowards.
Yeah.
They're cowards.
Well, now we've got to transition to a different portion of this that I mentioned we would be talking in the beginning. For those that just wanted to see a tribute to Charlie, I totally understand. The next part we're gonna show you because you need to see it, and we're not going to show the video of what happened to Charlie. We're going to show the response. And I want you to understand something about this. The reason why we're showing this is because I promise you, in fact, it's already happened. I made a statement, and the Speaker of the House for the Virginia House of Delegates came out and essentially condemned it. I don't particularly care. Because what you're going to see is not just one-off posts by people here and there. You're not going to see one-off videos by people here and there. You're going to see stuff that was liked and shared thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, sometimes hundreds of thousands of times. And the reason why I want you to see it is because nobody is going to convince me that this is just some one-off mental health issue. I think when you look at this, that's when you start to realize that the evil which led to Charlie's murder is not a bug. It's a feature of this ideology. And it's the reason why that ideology has to be defeated. This idea that, there's a lot of things that you can disagree with and peacefully coexist with. And there are some things you cannot. So we're going to give an account. We're going to watch what prominent people were saying about Charlie Kirk immediately following him being murdered. And I want to put this in perspective for you, because if I remember correctly, his family was there. So the context which you need to look at this is one of the earliest memories, one of the only memories that his children will have of their father is that moment. And this is how the left reacted. So let's go ahead and bring up the screen. First of all, I want people to understand that this website is actually really important, because this is a part of not just what happened, but what happens next. Because the old days of vote harder, try harder, convince harder, no, something more is required now. So this website, read off the website so people have access to it, Christian. What's it called?
CharliesMurderers.com.
CharliesMurderers.com. And what this is a compilation of all of the various people on social media who were very eager to run out and celebrate his death in front of his kids. Oh, and you're going to be surprised where a lot of them come from, what occupations they have, what positions of influence they possess. Let's go ahead and look at a couple of them. So we got Rachel Gilmore, a Canadian influencer. What did she have to say? Terrified to think of how far-right fans of Kirk, aching for more violence, could very well turn this into an even more radicalizing moment. Have you ever noticed that if we say anything that they casually disagree with, that's tantamount to genocide? But if they murder one of ours, the only concern is how we might respond to it. They're always the victims. Have you noticed that? They're always the victims. Charlie was dying in front of his kids, but they're the real victims. Always and forever. That's a part of their ideology. Scroll down. Oh, who's Jeremiah Farmer here? His employer is transportation driver at Orgill Incorporated. Orgill, might want to check into this. What did he have to say? Okay.
We need more people with better aim.
That's right. Jeremiah Farmer, he, him, pronouns. Married father of 4. Hard worker. Really, Jeremiah? You're a father of 4. I want you to imagine, like, we don't do this stuff to you, but I want you to imagine something like that happening to you, and then your children scrolling through X and finding somebody like you that would say something about that, about you, that your kids would read. That's who you are, Jeremiah. That's who you are. Orgill, respond accordingly. Next. Clark Kennedy, typical crap. Next. Samuel J. Pereira. Wow, this person had artwork ready to go within 24 hours. 24 hours. Go down. Down. White supremacist down. Who did he send that to? Wait a second. Yeah, down. Quinn Huddleston, Wilmington, Delaware. Employer, South Mill Mushroom Sales. What did he have to say? Is the gun okay? There you go, Quinn. No. Scroll up. I want to make sure we get this again. Quinn Huddleston, South Mill Mushroom Sales. All right, scroll down. Emily Clevin, employer, Fresh Prince. Died for what he believed in. Charlie Cook says gun deaths unfortunately worthy to keep the Second Amendment. This has been a common theme that's going to come up in a lot of the criticisms of Charlie Kirk, where Charlie Kirk was essentially saying, he was making a broader argument that in free societies, people can use their freedoms in ways that are inappropriate, that are wrong, that are illegal, that are evil. And the broader point Charlie Kirk was making for any of these idiots which refuse to understand it was that if your rights can be suspended the moment somebody else misuses theirs, you don't have rights. Do you understand that? Like, do you understand, for instance, in a moment like this, if I were to say someone said something really, really cruel, so now all of you are denied your right to freedom of speech, that would be a problem, correct? Well, that's the point Charlie was making if you would have bothered to try to understand it. But understanding is not what you're interested in. Scroll down. Katie Bakor. What did she even say? I can't even read it.
It's hard to see because you can't zoom in, but it's a group chat just laughing.
Scroll down.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Here we go. Christopher Condon, employer, Meadville Area Senior High School, Crawford Central School District. The entire atmosphere has been stoked by conservative media and vastly amplified by MAGA BS. They will reap what they sow. Let me see. What else did he say? Well, would you look at that? Charlie, it seems, was happy to sacrifice thousands of murdered school children so his rabid followers could worship guns. He made millions of dollars by spreading lies and hate that helped divide this nation. I have not one single F to give. Karma's a bitch, eh? There you go. That's he's employed by the school system, correct? So, Meadville Area Senior High School, Crawford Central School District. You might want to give him a call. You can screenshot this and send it to him. Because this is who's educated. He's a technology education teacher.
Unfortunately, and this highlights a broader problem, is that in most of these schools, all their administrators agree with them. There are so many people in positions of trust who have said things. A lot of these can be kind of peons who work, counting beans or whatever. But there are so many administrators, medical workers, doctors, teachers, principals, CEOs.
Miles Carter, Washington, Boeing Space Defense and Intelligence Systems, U.S. Department of War. So Boeing, this is your employee. He said he got what he deserved. Miles Carter, Washington, over at Boeing, lives in Petersburg. Scroll down. Alexander Wilson, Sacramento, California. I can't hear the liberals unilaterally condemning the concept of violence over the sound of Rebel Diaz and Telpo's 2020 fire to the fascists.
Just a bunch of TikToks.
Again, just understand everybody's going to look at this and say, oh, well, again, mental health issues. No. This is a logical outworking of their belief system. Rebecca Allen, Sacramento, California. MA student, California State University of Sacramento. Again, long Instagram post.
He was a racist, xenophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic.
These were all the sort of college students that couldn't come up and actually engage with Charlie, and when they did, they always looked ignorant, and they couldn't put together a coherent argument. And now they're all celebrating because, again, stop thinking that this is a bug. It is a feature of the worldview. These are not stupid people. These are educated people. They're working for Boeing. They're getting their master's degree. Here we go. Benjamin Asprey, Chicago, Illinois, employer, DePaul College. He died as he lived. A throbbing, what is it?
Hemorrhoid.
A throbbing hemorrhoid in the rectum of evil society.
Civil.
Of civil society. There you go. So that's when scroll back up. Benjamin Asprey, employer, DePaul College, Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah, here's his page.
There you go. There's his page right there. Media and popular culture. It's apparently where he's part of the adjunct faculty of media and popular culture. By the way, for all of you parents that are considering taking out a second mortgage so you can send your kids to college so they can have a good future, just understand that this is far more prominent within your university system than you're being led to believe. And before anybody tells me I don't know what I'm talking about with respect to the university system, I was the chair of the subcommittee for higher ed in the Virginia House of Delegates. Peyton Elizabeth Hunter, location Oakdale, Minnesota. Employer, teaching assistant at Open Arms Lutheran Child Development Center. Here you go. Ready?
And the world kept spinning. 208 likes for her comment. This is somebody condemning the violence, and this was her comment in response to this post condemning the violence.
Scroll down. Ashley Creekbaum. Employer, New Orleans Fire Department. I think he should be forced to carry that bullet in his body. That bullet has a right to be there because it's a gift from God. So, of course, this is their argument in response to Charlie Kirk believing in protecting innocent human life in the womb. So, New Orleans Fire Department, Ashley Creekbaum. She's one of yours, right? This is, wait a second, real quick. This is who you want showing up to have to save you in a dangerous situation. Let's hope she doesn't check your Twitter account and find out that she disagrees with you on a topic. She might just leave you to burn. Scroll down. Benjamin Smith. Meet our personal injury law team. There's Benjamin. Law offices of Anthony J. Leonard, personal injury lawyer. Scroll down. Buddy really went out downplaying shootings and providing cover to pedophiles. At least we can take solace in the fact that he went out doing what he loved. There you go. That's Benny's take. It's Benny's hot take. Unemployed. Isabella Smith, unemployed, which, by the way, is what that's what everybody else should be that we've read off so far. If you're totally fine with this sort of behavior, especially those of you who are employing people at schools and positions of public trust where they have to be dependent upon to go up and save people that need it, regardless of who they are, regardless of their political beliefs, regardless of who they might worship. But no. That's who you employ. Well, Isabel Smith here. Rest in piss, you won't be missed. Scroll down. You know what? If you want to look at more, go to the Charlie's Murderers. CharliesMurderers.com. If you've been taking screenshots of people, and there's a lot of teachers in here. Oh, I love this one. Next Door Early Childhood Education in Milwaukee. Books for Kids coordinator. This is Hannah Molitor.
Yeah, I wonder how much child pornography she's offering to children in her position.
CharliesMurderers.com. Go check that out.
Making his death political.
Go check that out and feel free to add more to it. Because they look, it's not like they're hiding it.
Oh, we've got more, by the way.
It's not like they're hiding it.
This list is short compared to, and you know what's left out of a lot of this? The tens and hundreds of thousands of likes that other takes have gotten.
Yeah, if you think this is just some crazy person that tweeted something out to their 4 followers.
Here's something. Here's a bullhorn. Listen to this.
We got Charlie and the neck. We got Charlie and the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie and the neck. We got Charlie and the neck.
35,000 likes.
Now, to be fair, this person is posting this video complaint. It's not. This is
okay.
But it's still, there's a crowd of people with a bullhorn here.
Yeah.
Sharing this on.
Go to the next one.
This is actually a clip of Charlie predicting that people would try to kill him. Listen to this.
At the core of the left, at the core of a liberal, is someone that would use the sword if they had it. They are very violent people at their core. They always have been. They can't debate. They can't have conversation. So they'll resort to these tactics. They're going to do everything they possibly can to try to murder this movement because they can't beat us. So they're going to try to take weapons. And no, we're very aware of that. I'm aware of it. We have to have full-time security. This is not a joke. This is who these people are.
Yep. Not
And
a
he was
bug, a
right.
feature.
And he had more than anybody else reason to believe that conclusion, considering what he did for years of debating and realizing that they're incapable of it, so they're just going to try to physically
And
solve
we're
it.
all going to hear all this whataboutism.
Yeah.
What about these people? What about these people? I've heard some people will bring up, some of the legislators that were killed. I can't remember where that was now. A few months back, in Minnesota. But what they don't, they want to highlight, oh, this happened, and we weren't saying it was everyone on the right, and it's like, well, that's cute. Hold on, that's cute, but it turns out it was one of your people really far to the left. So hey, it's all your people. Your people do this crap. Guns don't kill people. Leftists kill people. They start in the womb, and then it works itself out from there.
Next clip. This is an elementary school teacher employed by DOD, teaching on Fort Bragg to service members' children, posting an unhinged rant condoning violence and celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I suspect we're at a point where things are going to have to get ugly, get messy, maybe even get violent to change this dumpster fire of a country. The way we've always done things, boycott companies you don't like, makes it a vote in the midterms, is not enough. At this point, I question if we all have elections. And excuse my language, but F the high road. I am tired of having to be the bigger person. Oh my gosh. While the other side destroys the world to line the pockets of CEOs and oligarchs. Charlie Kirk recently said that he had thought gun violence victims and mass shooter victims was a reasonable, that's not what he said. F this guy. Ironic, isn't it?
Tired of having to be the bigger person. Listen, the left doesn't have a problem typically being the bigger person, not figuratively.
Kristen Eve, pre-K teacher at Department of Defense Education Activity. Pete Hegseth, we got one for you right here. This person needs to be unemployed ASAP. Can you imagine serving in the military, sending your kids to this person for their education? Next one.
Here's a man who would have been our vice president. Listen to this. This is from Tim Walz.
You get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news. You get up in the morning.
This is in reference to, I think there was people speculating when that Donald Trump was still alive.
This is a couple weeks ago.
This is Tim Walz. The guy that would have been vice president of the United States. When he's not busy trying to put tampons in boys' bathrooms in the public school system, he's sitting there fantasizing about his political opponents dying. Again, this is not coming from some weirdo in the basement. This is who they picked to be vice president. Now, I'll acknowledge he said this before Charlie Kirk was shot, before Charlie was murdered. But this is a part of their vernacular.
No, he was ready. He was bringing it on. Yeah, there'll be news. Yeah, because they incite their own side to create this news. I mean, just today, Nick had his statement out last night. Today, he was misquoted in what organization misquoted you?
I forget it.
Okay, so they basically misquote in the worst possible way they can because their hope is to get another notch on their freaking belt of the left. That's what their hope is. This is why they spin this stuff up and they create fake garbage news, garbage headlines that everyone takes at face value because they don't actually read the articles anymore. They don't actually go and look at the source material. Instead, they're just willing to believe that everybody is a fascist and a bigot and a homophobe and just the most evil, vile, horrible Nazi they could be. And of course, everybody knows Nazis, right? What are we supposed to do to Nazis? They all know they've got their marching orders and they're ready.
So Libs of TikTok put this one out. Go back. You can't even read it from here. There you go. Amanda Dodson, a teacher at the school district of Lancaster in Pennsylvania made a post online accusing Charlie Kirk of inciting hate and demanding that he receive no empathy. Have you ever noticed that when you say something a leftist doesn't like, that's inciting hate? And then when apparently the hate incited results in a conservative, an innocent person getting murdered, well, it's just our fault because we incited hate. I've noticed how it doesn't look like, we don't have this epidemic of liberal speakers terrified to speak on college campuses or being concerned about being murdered. They like to say it is, but then it doesn't happen. But then when our presidential candidate has 2 assassination attempts, when Charlie Kirk gets murdered, who's the victims? Them. It's always them. Next one.
They'll say if he wouldn't have been saying some of the extreme things he said, he really just had it coming. I cannot believe how many people I know in my circle that used to be friends of mine who have said some of the most vile things. So it's not that, it's just these fringe people on the left. No, it's all of them. It is all of them. If you identify yourself on the left, it's you.
This is with Blue Sky. Blue Sky was just a blaze. Olivia Hill, Charlie Kirk wants to see your jokes because he's effing dead. LOL, Charlie Kirk dying doing what he loved, defending gun violence.
You're not going to be able to read them all because watch. It just keeps going and going and going and going.
It's just endless.
It keeps going. And you know what? A lot of these will only have somebody's going to look at this and be like, but Christian, it only has, 5 likes. Okay. While Nick was talking a few minutes ago, I was pulling up some of our saved photos from last night. Here's some tweets that we've got that have hundreds and thousands or tens of thousands at the very least of likes. Here's the first one.
Well, guess he lost the debate. 120,000 likes.
120,000 likes.
Zoom in a little bit more. Oh, okay.
Well, unfortunately, they're photos, so it's gonna be hard to do that, Nate. But there's the first one. I've got a bunch more. If you just bear with me for a second. Here's another one.
I love it. He's got the hammer and sickle in his bio, along with the Palestinian flag. White man blowing your neck off a day after you was just saying white people don't do stuff like this is hilarious, bro. I'm sorry. Rest in SH Charlie Kirk. That's got 51,000 likes. 51,000 likes.
Here's another one.
Xavier, they had that boy leaking. Hashtag Charlie Squirt. 40,000 likes. That happened in front of his kids.
Here's another one.
Andrea Junker, let's make one thing clear from the start. Charlie Kirk was the victim of a shooting in a country where he, along with other right-wing extremist influences, have been inciting violence for years. Kirk is neither a martyr nor a hero. He is the cause. 57,000 likes. It's not. Breaking, Charlie Kirk loses gun debate. 64,000 likes. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
Yeah. And it's not just a handful of people. This didn't happen in a vacuum. I was telling Christian, the way I see people on the left now, I mean, I'm to the point now where you're not welcome in my home, you're not welcome in my presence, and you're not welcome on my feed. I'm going to block you. You're not welcome in my home. And if I have to be in your presence, I'm going to make it as uncomfortable as I can. And the reason why is because if you look at the stabbing death of the young woman on the train the other day, last week, there was a man who brutally murdered this girl in front of about 5 people, maybe 6 people, sitting there watching all of this happen and almost trying to shrink away like they were afraid to step in and help, and they weren't gonna, they didn't try to help her, didn't try to stop the bleeding. Like, they just wanted to sneak past her and hope to get off the train so they can get to work. That's the way I see the left right now in response to this, except it's worse. If those people on the train had sat there and laughed and jeered at her and made fun at her of her as she bled out, that would have been more similar to what the left is doing right now. Now, both of these deaths are absolutely abhorrent, but the vile behavior of the people in that train wasn't even as bad as the vile behavior I'm seeing from every random leftist right now. Right now. I'm just done. Like, if you're left of center, I'm done with you. I have no use for you. You and me, you are what you are. I am what I am, and we are not the same. And I'm not going to pretend we are anymore, and I'm not going to make you comfortable in my presence anymore. I'm done.
It gets worse. Here's another one. Charlie Kirk isn't a martyr. He's a casualty of the violence he incited. 31,000.
This always amazes me. It seems like the left is the one that really loves to engage in the violence, but we're the ones respond. So let me get this straight. You're against inciting violence because you will be the one that engages in the violence? Like, I'm already seeing the left. Like, they can't even stop for a second, right? Like, the calm members of the left are like, well, this is why we need more gun control. Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly believe that if you murder more of us, we'll hand over our means for defending ourselves? That's not happening. Just so you know.
Here's what's going on Reddit. Saving this for Trump, but might do a little shot tonight for my boy Charlie. almost 23,000 likes. Upvotes is actually what they're called on Reddit. Reddit's a total cesspool of this type of stuff. But there's more. You're just gonna be shocked at the numbers here. Here's one. Moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Obviously, giant bells ringing. This number, by the way, when I took the screenshot, was at 200,000 almost. It's over 400,000.
400,000 people like this idea of mocking a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk.
Here's another one.
You're not going to get me with the no one deserves this angle because I believe evil people like him should in fact die. 81,000 likes. Again, this is the part that I want people need to understand this. I said this once before, where when they accuse you of inciting violence, when they accuse you of committing an act of genocide simply because you disagree with a category that they have invented, right? The reason why they use that terminology is not accidental. It is not purely to try to shut down debate or to try to shame you. That is a component of it. But what they're doing is they're providing moral justification for murder. Because after all, if you're a fascist, if you're committing genocide, if you really are doing these things, well, then any act of violence directed against you is in fact self-defense. And they have an army of people online that will define it as such, justify it as such, and celebrate it. And the elected officials that like to get on and give these milquetoast things or condemn me because I'm pointing it out. Here's an idea. Speaker Don Scott, before you condemn one statement for me, why don't you take a look at what the people that support you are all too comfortable posting all over social media? And don't act like it's not the case. Because after all, Speaker Don Scott, you and members of your caucus are all too happy to engage in the same sort of hyperbolic rhetoric. But when you do it, it's not inciting violence. No. When you do it, it's just passionately defending what you believe in. Right? Because once again, it's part of the overall moral justification. You have laid the groundwork. Your party has been a part of it. And now when somebody says, I think this is problematic. I don't know where we go from here. It's like, oh, I can't believe that's true. Really? You've done your level best to create the environment in which it's happening. You know, let's jump to that real quick, just so everyone has context of what I'm talking about. So I'll read this off. This was read my tweet. We'll put that one on there.
Give me a second to let me pull it up.
So I'll tell you what the Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates responded to. So this is what I said yesterday. And I waited on this. Because I waited on this, I prayed on it, and I was like, no, I believe this is true. So this is what I said. I said, I am told that as a state representative, this is the moment where I'm supposed to express my heartfelt condolences and then stand in solidarity with those on the other side of the aisle as we condemn political violence and stand unified as one people. But we aren't one people, are we? The truth is we haven't been for some time now, and there is really no point in pretending anymore if there ever was. We are two very different peoples. We may occupy the same piece of geography, but that is where the similarities seem to abruptly end. I convinced myself for a long time that whenever the left called me a racist, a bigot, a sexist, a fascist, a threat to democracy, for even the most innocent of disagreements, that it was simply hyperbolic rhetoric done for effect. And now the effect is a widow and 2 orphaned children because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating them and winning. I don't think they realize it yet, but murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as the day where we finally woke up to what this fight really is. It is not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It's a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. One side will win and one side will lose. Charlie tried to win that fight through argumentation, through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences, and the other side murdered him. Not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they hurled at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel like they had a voice, that they were not alone. And he did it at the very institutions which have fomented so much hatred toward conservatives. I don't want to stand in solidarity with the other side of the aisle. I want to defeat you. I want to defeat the godless ideology that kills babies in the womb, sterilizes confused children, turns our cities into cesspools of degeneracy and lawlessness, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebration of Charlie's death. I wonder if any among them understand what has just happened. If there is a Yamamoto somewhere in their midst warning that all they have done is awoken a sleeping giant. I doubt it. I think they gave up such introspection and self-awareness long ago. I don't know exactly what will happen next. I just know that it won't be the same as what has happened in the past. There will be thoughts and prayers. Charlie would have wanted prayers, not for himself, but for those left behind and for the country that he loved. But then there will be a reckoning. My Christian faith requires me to love my enemies and pray for those who curse me. It does not require me to stand idly by in the midst of savagery and barbarism, quite the opposite. So every time I feel tired, every time I feel discouraged or overwhelmed, I am going to watch the video of a good man being murdered in Utah. I will force myself to watch it, and then I will return to the work of destroying the evil ideology responsible for that and so much more. Rest with God, Charlie. Your fight is over. Ours is just beginning. So Don Scott decided that he was going to post this, because of course he would. Yesterday, without any proof or facts, an elected delegate and member of the House of Delegates said these words, and the other side murdered him, speaking on the horrible murder of Charlie Kirk. Democrats I served with have denounced the horrific shooting and expressed our condolences to the family of Mr. Kirk. It is sad a Republican member of the Virginia House of Delegates would use these words. It's not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It's a war between diametrically opposed worldviews which cannot peacefully coexist with one another. I know Nick Freitas. I actually like Nick Freitas. He is a combat veteran. He wore the cloth of this nation. I admire his ability to connect with people, but on this one, he is wrong. He must be wrong, except that I'm not. I'm not. I've actually been in the legislature longer than you have, Don. And let me tell you something. I sat there and I remembered how it used to be. I remember when you used to be able to sit down and disagree with one another civilly. And yeah, there was still some outlandish comments that were made predominantly by your side of the aisle, but we were able to have those conversations. We were able to sit down in our offices and talk to each other as human beings. And then you know what happened, Don? You know what happened, Mr. Speaker? One day you guys got put in charge. I remember it. You won the House, you won the Senate. You had the governor's mansion, the attorney general's office, you had the lieutenant governors. And I watched what happened. It wasn't just the extreme legislation that came across. It wasn't just about trying to allow for abortion up to the point of birth or engaging in gun confiscation. It wasn't about doing all of the things that you promised us you didn't actually believe in. It was the way you treated us as individuals. It was almost as if our humanity was lost the moment you got power. Because after all, there's no reason to be nice to us anymore. You controlled the House. You controlled the committees. You controlled the governor's pen. I have watched as the Democratic Party has fully embraced the oppressor-oppressed dynamic, the critical theory view of the world, the view of the world that says that you can bifurcate all of society into those that are evil by virtue of their position, by their race, by their sex, and those who are the victims. And whatever the victims have to do in order to achieve liberation, whatever they have to do to achieve decolonization, or whatever buzzword you're using right now, ultimately becomes justified. And then what do you do when somebody calls it out for what it is? You decide to spend more time and effort condemning my response, which didn't advocate for violence. I didn't murder someone. But once again, the real victims are always you guys, right? I have to tell you, I spent a fair amount of my life trying to come up with what I thought were good, comprehensive, coherent arguments. I remember spending time listening to the other side of the aisle express what they believed, reading through their arguments, listening to their arguments, engaging with their arguments. I remember believing that all I have to do is I have to understand their perspective and where they're coming from, and then try to be able to make the sort of points that will illustrate that we are both Americans, we're Virginians. We want all of our constituents to be happy, healthy, prosperous, and free. We just disagree on the way to get there. And if I could find that common humanity and I could find that common problem that we were trying to solve, well, then we could come together and solve it. I've said so as many times on the House of Delegates floor when I was being accused of the most vile of intentions without evidence or cause. And so I came to a conclusion, Mr. Speaker. I was wrong. We don't all want the same things. We don't all want our constituents to be happy, healthy, prosperous, and free. Or to the extent that we do, we have such diametrically opposed views on how that's going to happen that they cannot peacefully coexist. You tell me, Mr. Speaker, what world do we live in when your party is not killing babies up to the point of birth? You tell me, Mr. Speaker, what world do we live in where you are not handing chemical castration medicine over to gender-confused 10-year-olds? You tell me, Mr. Speaker, what world do we live in when you are not going to, every chance you get, try to disarm me and anybody that thinks like me? When? If you can answer that, I will entertain the idea that there is the possibility of these two worldviews peacefully coexisting. If you are actually willing to engage in a political philosophy which says, I will live and let live. But you're not. Every time you get power, you wield it. You wield it against the people that you see as your political enemies, and you tell all your constituents that we are evil, that we are fascist, that we are threats to their very civilization and existence. And then when they act on that, when they believe you, you act shocked? I will give you this much credit, Mr. Speaker. You are an intelligent man, and you are a cunning man, and I don't buy it anymore. For all the talk about the right inciting violence, Mr. Speaker, we're not murdering you. We're not murdering your speakers. We would stand by and universally condemn, prosecute, and imprison somebody that would do something like that. Whereas you would fight for opportunities to let them out early. You've already done it, right, Mr. Speaker? No, Mr. Speaker, this wasn't done to you and me observing what has taken place is not devoid of facts or evidence, I assure you. It's come from very, very carefully following what has been taking place in our country over the last decade. Beyond that even. I didn't want this. I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe that we were all, at our foundation, Americans. But we don't share the same worldview in the least bit. And to the extent we do, you seem completely unwilling to stop the elements of your party, the elements of your movement, the elements of your ideology from doing the most extreme and vile things. And so what am I supposed to do? Are we just supposed to take solace in the fact that you assure us that this is wrong and you don't believe it and you don't support it? Now, I think what you're all really upset about is that for the longest time, you were able to charm us into believing that you didn't really believe the extreme things you said about us. It was just for politics. It's just to win an election. Well, Mr. Speaker, whether you believe it or not, the people who listen to you do believe it, and they're willing to act on it, and they're willing to celebrate it. Now I'm going to say what I said at the beginning of this, because I not only owe it to God, I owe it to Charlie. I will not be overcome by evil, and I will diligently fight to overcome evil with good. And I'll never advocate for the killing of innocent, no matter how much I disagree with them or their vile policies or their vile comments. It's not who we are. But do not expect us to go quietly into the night either. My faith does not obligate me to stand by and watch this take place. The next thing I want to talk about is, what do we do from here? Because there's a lot of people asking me. And I understand the desire for retribution and revenge. Please believe me, I do. But there's another thing I've learned, and that is their actions are all about focusing and controlling our reactions. They want us to behave in a certain way so that they can use it as evidence that we are the savages they claim that we are, at the same time that they engage in acts of savagery. Charlie was on to something. Charlie was on to something when he emphasized faith, when he emphasized founding principles, when he emphasized family, when he emphasized marriage, when he emphasized having kids. He was on to something. And the reason why he was on to it was because he knew that the left would not spend so much time denigrating these institutions, whether it be the church, whether it be marriage, whether it be the family. He knew there had to be a reason they spent so much time trying to systematically dismantle those things and to replace them with something else. And I can tell you right now, for everybody that's looking at me skeptically or thinking that I'm advocating an easy way out or I'm advocating a platitude, I promise you I'm not. I know what it is to put my life on the line for something I believe in. And I can remember the very moment in November of 2008 in Iraq where I thought my next move is going to get me killed. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, if I don't do my duty, what do I tell my wife? What do I tell my children? They believe something about me. They believe I am honorable. They believe I am brave. And so there was no choice. You had to do your duty. But you deprive people of that. You deprive young men of their faith in God, of a wife and a marriage they can believe in, of children that they can raise, love, and protect. It becomes very easy to deprive them of any notion of patriotism, any notion of community, any notion of country. There's a reason why Charlie focused so much. It's because everything else we love and everything else we fight for within the political realm is built upon that foundation. And so as we go forward, I will tell you this much. I am not just pouring back into my Bible. I'm pouring back into the arguments, the history. I want to better understand. I want to be able to better debate, not because I'm interested in trying to convince the sort of person that would murder me or celebrate my murder in front of my children, but because there are out there that are looking around and wondering what is true. And for anybody that is still wondering what is true, my God commands me in 1 Peter 3:15 to first sanctify Christ in my heart and always be prepared to give a response for the hope that is in me, but to do so with gentleness and respect. And I will be honest, I am struggling with the gentleness right now. But it's a command, not a request. So I will improve on that area of my life. I will improve on the sort of husband I am to my wife. I will improve on the sort of father I am to my children. I will improve my intellect with respect to arguing my positions for anyone that is willing to listen and give it a fair hearing and receive the same in kind. But I will also improve in everything I need to do to protect the things I love. I will be as hard a target as I possibly can be. I already recognize I'm a target. I've accepted that. But I will be the hardest one I possibly can be. I encourage you to learn on the own areas of your life, the spiritual, because as much as I get hammered for always bringing up Christianity, let me tell you what we're confronting right now. It's evil. And like God, I am not willing that anyone should perish. But there are evil ideologies in this world that deserve to be destroyed. And if you don't have a spiritual foundation, you can't even define evil. It becomes nothing more than something that you don't like in the moment. But if you want to understand it and you want to effectively fight it, you better start researching what it actually is. The intellectual. It is time that we continue to aspire to make the sort of intellectually rigorous arguments that Charlie made. The emotional, we will have to control our emotions. That doesn't mean they cannot inform our actions or inform our thoughts, but they cannot direct them. That is what the other side wants. They want us to be so consumed with grief that we screw up. What we believe deserves more. Charlie deserves more. Professionally, develop the capabilities that you need to. Because as I look at the various industries that are employing these people, I am coming with my own ultimatum. You fire this, or I don't do business with you. And if that means we have to endure a little bit of economic pain or the deprivation of convenience, so be it. And finally, the physical. Don't tell me you understand the nature of this fight if you're not actually willing to develop the sort of martial capabilities that you need to in order to defend the things that you love. Over the next several weeks, we will hopefully find the man that killed Charlie and learn more about what their specific motivations were. But there's a reason why we showed you all of the comments, all of the celebration, all of the likes and shares. It was so you would remember, this is not a bug. This is a feature of the ideology they have chosen. It was not imposed. It was not directed to them. They chose it. I sincerely hope with all of my heart, and please believe me when I say this, that they will choose something different. I don't believe that anybody is beyond Christ's saving grace. As Alistair Begg once said, the only reason why any of us ever get into heaven is because the man on the middle cross said we could come. But we are entering a different era. Be careful that you don't conduct yourself in such a way that would diminish the legacy that Charlie Kirk left behind. Because his wife and children are watching. But by the same token, do not be lulled into a false sense of security that we can continue on as we have before. something has changed. It is now our responsibility to make sure that as we fight evil, we also provide a vision of what could be, what is true, and what is noble, and what is just, and what is loving. Thank you, Charlie. As I said before, your fight's over, but ours is just beginning. Thank you.